Giants stormed home in a heart-stopper, and the Hawks will have to do things the hard way if they're to break into the top 8 by season's end. The stage is now set for a blockbuster of epic proportions, and we're back with plenty of talking points here on the Hawk Talk podcast, so let's get down to business. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick, and with me as always is my co-host Tiz, who took over social media duties as everything unfolded live.
Thanks, mate. That was a great hospital hand pass, that one. That was really good.
Come on. I did actually think of that. I mean, of all weeks, I give you the social media duties. It happens to be in a heartbreaking loss. I did feel for you.
The most difficult part for me to reconcile is I pointed out that the three-quarter time scores from the VFL and the AFL games were exactly the same. It's sort of indicating that perhaps, GWS might come back as they did in the VFL, where it was only a 1 point margin in favour of Box Hill by the end, but unfortunately 2 points the wrong way in the AFL. We were so close, and we never played well all day, and it's just heartbreaking.
No, it got to the stage of the day where, like I said, I'd planned, so I was preoccupied, but I was sneaking a look at the score every now and again, just a little bit anxiously, and it got to about three-quarter time, and I saw a tweet from someone that basically said, "This is the most unconvincing 28-point lead ever." I thought to myself, uh-oh, here we go. I know what Hawthorn's been capable of this year. They are capable of letting a lead slip, and so I was a little bit concerned. And then I checked more and more and more, and I just watched the lead slip away. And they got within striking distance, and I thought, I think the Giants are going to do this. And they did. And I saw it tick over to full time, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bring myself to watch the replay of this one. It's going to be tough.
Well, look, I feel like we needed McGuinness this week, because when the change was made for Deer and we brought Bruce on, we lost all pressure in that forward 50 with Gunston and Bruce both there, and it became very difficult to watch the forward entries. Although Gunston, magnificent game from him, like he kept Taylor out of the contest and everything. But
and kicked 4 himself, by the way.
Yeah. From, let me just check, how many disposals did he get? 5. So 4 goals from 5 disposals.
Well, consulting the stat sheet, it wasn't really a great day for our forwards.
No, it wasn't. And our midfielders, apart from Newcomb, who had 11 clearances, no one else managed more than 3. It was a funny old day. A few of them looked very tired. A few of them looked like they couldn't get to the pace of the contest. And yet, when we were on counter-attack, we were scoring freely and kicking well. And we had our tails up, but it was never... we could never just break that margin, get it out far enough to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, also there were a few big Giants names that really got a hold of us when the game was on the line, when it really mattered, and obviously one of those is Hogan. With his 5 goals, it was something I was concerned about heading into this game, that we wouldn't have an answer for him, and we didn't. And it makes me, we're far away from the preview of the Carlton game, and it makes me extremely concerned for how this week is going to go. Because we've got 2 big boys to worry about. We've got Mackay and Curnow, and I know Curnow's under an injury cloud, but yeah, this as a little bit of an entree, a taster for what's to come, makes me concerned. But anyway, it was Hogan, it was Daniels, and it was Green.
Yeah, well, we flagged last week that we might need Sarong this week for Carlton.
Yeah.
And we probably needed him on the weekend as well.
Yeah,
so
we did.
I felt like Sam Mitchell could have really asserted himself on proceedings up there, but for large parts of the game, we looked like we were going to run out the winner. And but for the Daniels moving into the midfield in the last quarter and Toby Green doing Toby Green stuff in midfield as well, we just couldn't find answers for their momentum shift. And yeah.
So let me ask you, mate, because you watched the game in real time, and so you more, in this instance, had your finger on the pulse than me. Was this as dispiriting as people were making it out to be?
Oh, it's not as bad as Port.
I had some people telling me it's worse than the Port game. I thought, surely not. That can't be true.
It wasn't as bad as the Port game because, we weren't 3 goals ahead with a minute to go or whatever. But look, Lachie Whitfield did what he liked all day, 700 metres gained. It just felt like Sam was like, look, if you want to play finals, you win this match, you work it out. you get it done. And it felt like I don't think do you think we'd still play finals? I think it's too hard. But we've got to have too many results fall our way, and it just seems like none of the results ever fall our way.
Look, mathematically, we're still in contention, but I can't help but be on the same page as you. I think it is a little bit too hard. Like, I mean, obviously, if we beat Carlton, the dream is still very much alive. But, mate, we've had nothing go our way. Other teams in the comp not interested in helping Hawthorn. This was a nightmare round for results. Nothing went our way.
And look, Dylan Moore played a fantastic game. Like that first half, he was involved in everything. Just incredible. I mean, 8 scoring involvements for the day, 19 touches, 3 direct goal assists, and kicked 1 goal too. But we also had D'Ambrosio and Amon just cutting them up as much as they liked.
Yeah, Massimo D'Ambrosio, I mean, what a sensational season he's having, his first year in the brown and gold. And it's remarkable in that it just seems to keep getting better. I mean, the way things have ticked over, now we're seeing a trend of him hitting the scoreboard with regularity as well. So he got 22 touches at 95.5% disposal efficiency, which is excellent, but he had 2 goals as well and a direct goal assist.
And Carl Amon, 30 disposals at 90% efficiency, 9 marks, 638 metres gained, and you're just wondering if we could have got a bit more out of our defensive midfielders, this game should have been over.
Yeah, I think so. I would have liked to have seen a bit more from our stoppage work around the ground, because I think Lloyd Meek was pretty dominant. 42 hitouts, 14 to advantage, 46 to 27 in the hitouts. That translated to +8 in centre clearances, but it was the stoppage game around the ground that the Giants really made up that deficit, and they ended up winning the clearances overall, 36 to 35. So, I mean, look, they just edged us out there, but when you're being that dominant, I would have liked Hawthorn to have made more of that around the ground. I think it's also worth noting that the Giants had +17 marks and +13 tackles as well.
It just came down to a big guy in defence that was willing to just punch the ball every time it came near Hogan, just nullify him. And that would have killed the contest. That would have been it. And that's what we're looking at in the trade table. That's who we're linked with. That's what we want. And I think it improves us greatly. At the other end, we obviously need another big target. Chol kicked 2, but was largely unnoticed for a lot of the day.
So we had a question from Darcy saying, I think we lacked aerial presence forward after subbing off Kalsha, and in defence with Sicily, not his usual intercepting self post-shoulder injury. This ultimately cost us the game. The first time I really felt we missed Mitch Lewis. He and Battle/Barrass would make a huge difference to this side. Darcy's got a point, mate.
Yeah, well, we can send Battle forward as well, Nick.
That's right.
You wouldn't allow for him to be a swingman. So, and then Sam is on the money here with, is there a reason Josh Weddle is often manning up the opposition's number 1 key forward? Jeremy Cameron, Jesse Hogan in recent weeks, given his age and athletic profile, I would have thought he would suit being at most the 3rd key defender and best utilise his run and dash for which we drafted him, rather than putting him out of his depths as the number 1 key defender. So, people have sort of hung out Josh Weddle to dry a bit, but he didn't get many favours from the coach.
I was going to say no more than Sam Mitchell, mate. That's the problem here. And I don't blame Mitchell for that. This is a matter of the personnel that we have out in the park. Would it be this way if we had a key position defender ready to go? They keep on overlooking Phillips, even though he does play consistently, I think, well, at VFL level, but this is what we're running with, and Josh Weddle was set a massive task, and Sicily's not himself, and that's where we get exposed.
That's exactly what's happening. And, look, he kicked a magnificent goal too, Weddle. That'll be goal of the round, surely. So you can't really knock the young man. It's he was a bit unfortunate trying to mark a couple of times when he should have punched. And that happens to all defenders, really. But it's worked well for a long time, and it didn't work on this occasion. Hogan was very driven, and I think he thoroughly deserves to get that Coleman.
We had a question from Rhiannon here. The GWS game, we looked tired, and the matchups didn't seem quite right. Some are asking the question, Battle or Barrass? Battle is younger, with still a bit of experience. Barrass has the experience and the drive. What do we think?
Barrass has the drive, does he? Does he really? Isn't he a premiership player?
Well, I mean, he hasn't tasted a win in a long time.
Okay, fair enough.
At least a consistent run of wins. He hasn't had that in a while.
Yeah, look, I'd rather have Barras in defence, but the swingman that Battle can become is enticing to me.
Why don't we just go the old El Paso technique? Por qué no los dos? Isn't that what they say? Why not both?
Is that what they say?
Yeah. I'll have Battle and Barras, thank you very much.
Liam asks, when we play the football that's given us the most success this season, it's full tilt pressure and 100-mile-per-hour football. The downside to that, especially after back-to-back travel weeks, is it's exhausting for the young group who are still developing their bodies. We haven't quite got the maturity or the complete athleticism to manage games yet. Hopefully, we have got a couple more in us. Yeah, look, I don't think, being a betting man, especially on AFL, you don't like to bet on the margin with a team that has had less recovery than their opposition. And I can't remember the last time that we've had a longer period of recovery than our opponent each week. Almost every week we're down on recovery time. We get such a bad bloody fixture every year. It's ridiculous.
Well, what is it that Kane Corns has been peddling in recent weeks? Hawthorn has been shafted. They've been shafted in the fixture. I'm seeing that. I'm like, you know what, Kane? I've really come around to you. You're not bad. Legitimately, it's actually kind of worrying. I've been listening to Friday mornings with Kane and Kingy, and I'm like, who have I become? You know what? When Kingy's got a sense of humour about him, he's actually palatable. I'll give him that.
Now, this is interesting because after a weekend where Sam Mitchell was criticised pretty much because the team didn't seem to have the right matchups. A lot of people noticed that. Perhaps they weren't selected exactly as they should have been for this match, but you backed in a successful team. But Jeremy says, despite a few fourth quarter fade outs, I want to know, is Sam Mitchell in the conversation for Coach of the Year? No team has been dominant enough for long enough this year for there to be a shoe-in for the title. What Sam has achieved in our list so far is impressive. And it certainly is. Like, you take out the first 5 weeks where they're just trying to work out what their best game plan is and who their best personnel are. After that period, remarkably consistent and an energising and watchable form of footy, which I think has to be encouraged across the league.
I mean, the narrative arc of our season has been your classic fairy tale turnaround. Like, the momentum and the spirit around the club has been absolutely palpable. Everyone knows it. The entire media is not shunning it. They've embraced it. The fans love it. The social media game has been recognised too. I mean, there's just been a swell of momentum around this club, and I think Sam Mitchell is very much at the core of that. And Jeremy brings up a good point. Who deserves it? It's such an even competition. Why don't you back the bloke that's put us rocketing right back into contention rather than say, I don't know, who was it going to initially? Like Longmire? Like, he doesn't bloody deserve it after a result like that.
What about Longmuir?
Oh, okay, well, no, but even Freo had their moments of looking highly suspect. I mean, for a start, they've just had one on the weekend as well. Losing to Essendon? Come on.
I know, but the injury list is incredibly bad. And they have an average age and experience around the same as us.
No one had the negative press like Hawthorn. Like, comparatively, Hawthorn and the Dockers, I mean, no one expected this of us this season.
Fair enough. I think Sam should get it above Longmuir. I'm just being devil's advocate for a minute.
Oh, I know. It's deeply frustrating. But going back to Corn saying we're shafted with the fixture, did you see reports recently that we're up for more prime time? We're back on Broadway, baby!
How is that a report? Like, are they just trying to force their hand, or what are they doing?
Well, exactly. How can it possibly be a report? Because they're not thinking about the fixture next year. But that's apparently the intention that's been flagged. The AFL's looking at it closely, Tiz. I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Great. What time are we this weekend? Is it Carlton have drawn us through to 1 o'clock. We're a little bit earlier this Sunday.
Yeah, 1:10 p.m. on Sunday.
You going to be there? It's going to be huge.
I'll be there, absolutely. I'll be back in my standing room.
Because let's face it, their form isn't great, mate. The midfield has gone to water a few times, and they look like the kind of team that you get enough pressure on them, you can you can run away. I don't think they're as good as GWS, to be quite frank.
No, I would agree with you there. I still have my concerns, but, they're vulnerable. Absolutely. This is as close to a 50-50 clash as I can think of, with everything to play for, with what looms as probably a giant crowd, probably over 70, probably 75,000.
And if our boys are flagging, getting tired towards the end of the year, the importance of having the crowd there, it's going to be remarkable. I know it's a away game.
Well, they've done good things in front of big away crowds, these boys. They're not strangers to this environment. They've been behind enemy lines at the MCG before. I'm reminded of Dusty's 300th.
Yeah, and he bows out at 302 games. So, obviously he didn't want to play us again. So
just couldn't let Hawthorn have the delight of retiring him, I suppose.
Nah. I saw in the highlights today that goal he kicks against us from the boundary line in front of the MCC. That was it's just a remarkable goal.
I don't rate it.
You don't?
No. Sincerely. I'm not even kidding.
Oh.
I have seen many players kick that goal.
Oh.
Dusty is... Look, let's be perfectly clear about this. Dusty is a brilliant footballer. But I have seen players kick those goals. That he himself has kicked better goals than that, I'm certain.
Okay, fair enough. Not against us, though.
Well, no, not against us. Is it because it was in a final? Like, that probably ups the stakes. It ups the ante a bit. Is that right?
I think I was only 3 rows back when he kicked it. That's why it stands in my mind. But, yeah, God, he was frustrating to watch. Why couldn't they tackle him and all that kind of stuff? Anyway.
That's why he's among the elite.
I honestly thought he'd go to Gold Coast. I can't understand why he didn't.
Well, don't rule it out. He could do a little bit of a Hodgie.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we hear that mentioned online? Yeah.
Anyway, mate, ahead of the Carlton game, we've got to work out if there's anyone coming through that might be elevated to the senior side to take their spot in a bit of a do-or-die clash, and we need to look at Box Hill's result, which, as you said, was eerily similar to what happened with the senior side.
Yeah, they stopped to a walk in that last quarter and were lucky, very lucky. There were so many inside 50s in the last 5 minutes for GWS. But Phillips, I think he marked 2, and DGB was very good under pressure. So, look, they got the result, but it should have been a lot easier than it looked. Unfortunately, there were injuries to Tyler Brown and Cooper Stevens that really made it tough for our midfielders.
Well, at one stage, we were down 3 players. 3 players on the bench, as you say. Tyler Brown, lower leg injury. Cooper Stevens, a head knock that put him out of commission. Chad Wingard, he did his 3 quarters, and he was on managed minutes, so that's it for him. And, it's little wonder that we weren't running out the game well, but... continues this worrying trend of opposition sides just piling on the goals against Box Hill. I mean, down personnel or not, it just seems to happen a lot. Anyway, we got the results, winning by a point in the end. We climbed back into the top 4 over, as you say, a fast-finishing Giants. I mean, it was just a good thing that we got out to such an amazing lead early on. I mean, when I checked the score, we're about 7 goals up.
And they were very convincing. I mean... Jasper Scaife kicked 4 goals, 2.
From 7 touches?
Yeah, he looked like he was a world beater. Henry Hustwaite and Cam McKenzie were both very good, putting their hands up for selection again, especially if you're thinking people are hitting a wall in terms of fitness in the AFL squad. And, Finn McGuinness I thought he got 2 goals in the first quarter and really set the tone for the game. So... those 3 guys, it'd be hard to overlook. And then Jai Sarong was very, very good in defence. Like, it feels like you absolutely have to see Sarong. And if Deer is as tired as he looked on the weekend, then perhaps Jasper Scaife gets a nod and we get a look at the debutant there. It's exciting stuff, really, because we've got a bye in the VFL, which means that, if we want to give these guys a rest like Deer and that, we can. And we can elevate Scaife, and we don't rob the VFL squad of an opportunity to win.
Well, Views from the Nosebleeds weighs in on this, saying, is it time for Scaife to debut? Deer has been great this season, but has been down in recent weeks. Is Scaife worth a shot? Kane added, when does Scaife get a call-up? And what's with every other bloody team we're relying on for results crapping the bed as well?
Exactly. That Freo result, that's the one that got me. I could not believe that.
Oh, after everything, after the way the whole weekend played out, after what Sydney did.
Or didn't do.
Yeah, well, that's more the point, isn't it? But look, would I be in favour of Scaife getting a debut? It's extremely high stakes, but look, if the rationale is that Deer needs a rest, then yes, I'm in favour of it. If Deer is the one to come out, then Scaife should be the one to come in.
Where's Ramsden?
Ramsden did pretty well. He's actually the dominant ruck on the ground against GWS. He's been playing well, but I'm not in a rush to insert him into this senior side.
Surely he's ahead of Scaife. Surely we see Ramsden before Scaife.
As a forward target, though, I'm not sure about that.
Well, we've tried him before.
I don't know. I just think Scaife is presenting a lot better already in just a handful of games as a tried and true forward target. If we need a bit of flexibility and we do need Ramsden to go into the ruck, then fine. But I'm not sure our senior side needs that at the moment.
So they're without De Koning, aren't they? He's not going to play.
Yes. And if we're launching into opposition watch momentarily, Cottrell is out for the season and Chera's out for a number of weeks with a hamstring. Curnow is apparently available despite an ankle complaint, so that's unfortunate.
They'll bring in that Matt Kennedy for Chera. Don't know what they'll do about De Koning, but they're big pieces for Carlton. They've got to find a way now, and without their best side. And they've been struggling with these guys in. So,
as for our injury list, it's pretty thin at the moment. I mean, we've got a pretty healthy list. Ned Reeves is 1 week away, still nursing a back complaint. And as you say, Cooper Stevens copped a head knock. He'll be out with concussion 1 to 2 weeks. So, other than that, we've got our season-ending injuries, which have been well documented, but a healthy list. This, Sam Mitchell, for the most part, heading into this do-or-die clash, he has so many levers to pull. He just needs to pull the right ones now.
Do you feel like it was a moment where the expectations were that we won and we didn't get over the line? Or from a psychological point of view, they should have been able to hold GWS out for the end of that game?
Yeah, look, it's a really ill-timed twist of fate, this. The way that game played out is a bit of a dent to the confidence. Like, I can just picture the boys looking at the result and looking at the tape, thinking to themselves, we should be past this. They're almost like echoing Sam Mitchell's sentiments. He's said as much in press conferences throughout the year. We're better than this. We should be beyond this by now. And what I hope is that self-criticism doesn't internalise and crystallise too much. I don't want it to ruin them and sap them of belief in what has been working. I mean, the fact is, they got out to that lead to begin with. And I know, as I said, I read that it was unconvincing, but, they're able to put that buffer. They are capable of getting out to such a lead. And it'll be interesting. We had a question from Reese. Where on the ground will the Blues game be won and lost? Both teams' strengths and weaknesses mirror each other. We have to stop their talls. They have to stop our smalls. Or will it come down to Nuke versus Cripps?
I feel like our smalls are much better than theirs in the forward line, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What I was looking at from a mental games point of view, the expectation is all on Carlton this week. We're just sort of there as the hunter again.
We are, and I think that, honestly, aids us. So I say it was an ill-timed loss in the way that it happened, but also I've seen how that sparked us on throughout the season, so I don't know. Isn't it a fascinating thing?
Oh, definitely. Sports psychology is just... Well, I'm not sure why they write books on it because I don't think they understand it. But
well, it's just been incredible to see what this team is capable of when their backs are up against the wall.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the absence of expectation. Like, it's expected that we don't play finals now. So we'll probably come out and play very freely and all that. But I don't know if they were trying to guard the lead in that last quarter and we just can't do that yet because they couldn't find a bloke free. They didn't manufacture a free bloke to just take a mark, take 15 seconds off the clock. 3 blokes take 45 off the clock. That kind of stuff. It just wasn't part of what they were able to do. And it should just be another arrow in the quiver. That should be something you're able to do as a team. It should be second nature, really.
I mean, bigger picture overall, the development is still there. Like, we are tracking, in spite of these heartbreaking results that crop up every now and again, we are still tracking overall very nicely. This rebuild is going well. That's what Hawthorn fans have to retain a sense of, is that in spite of the result, I mean, the fact that we're even in this conversation of we've got to win this week to keep our finals hopes alive, I mean, imagine that. That was a crazy thing to think of at the start of the year.
I mean, I don't want you to get me wrong. I'm not down on the team or anything. It just feels like that's something you should be able to do. It's, get that done. Otherwise, teams look at you and it doesn't matter how far ahead you are, you're still gettable.
Yeah, I have often wondered, since that Port Adelaide game, what is happening in the opposition huddle and what I would be likely to say if I was captain. The first thing I'd be drawing upon is these guys are fragile. So I don't know. It'll be a huge test of mental resolve. And look, as much as you say maybe the team's already switched off and they don't have the weight of expectation, I think it's pretty roundly acknowledged that the loser of this game, they are finally done. Like, they will miss the 8. Whereas the winner...
Carlton can miss the 8, can they?
I believe they can.
Wow.
Don't rule it out. Whoever loses this game this season in terms of making the finals is probably over. Either way.
Yeah, all right. I'll take your word for it. Who do Carlton have, as a matter of fact? Oh, they got us, and then they got the West Coast, and then they got St Kilda. So they should be all right.
West Coast in Perth, bit of a wild card. And St Kilda are proving an ultimate wild card, to be honest. And if Carlton lose this one, I mean, they've lost how many of the last month and a half?
God, they're in 8th. I didn't realise they were in 8th.
Yeah, there you go, mate.
Oh,
there you go.
I thought, yeah, they've lost 4 of their last 5, with their only win coming against North. Oh, mate, we're home.
Jeez, you've turned. Oh, boy. We heard from Eric regarding selection this week. Given Sicily looks hampered, send him forward and bring in Phillips or Sarong to take one of the big Blues forwards. We have enough good kicks in the back half. Mackenzie for Ward, the other change. Well, mate, it begs the question, whether you follow Eric's strategy or not. Really, I want to know from you what changes you are making.
Yeah, I think you've got to bring in McGuinness and probably Mackenzie. And I might consider Scaife for Deer. Sarong, I want to get it done, but I don't know who I'm pulling out for him.
I reckon it might be time for Scaife. I want to bring in Finn McGuinness. And I think we can't afford to do nothing about the 2 big towering Blues forwards. And I think that leads me to either go Phillips or Sarong, with a lean to Sarong because he's been in pretty good form and he deserves it. He's earned it. But I just don't think we can afford to do nothing about those targets.
How about Sarong for CJ?
Yeah, that could work.
And then if you feel like it, you can send Weddle forward. You don't need to bring Scaife in.
Yeah, that's true. Give us a bit of a different look.
Looking at their form line, goodness, it'd be crazy to back Carlton.
You've seriously come around to Hawthorn.
Well, I've got to say, even a couple of weeks ago, I was more confident about the Carlton game than I was about the GWS game, just purely for the fact that we'd travelled twice, 2 weeks running, and that's going to be hard on the boys. And also, I feel like they get up for MCG matches now. I think they circle them in the calendar and they're like, all right, that's going to be... time to get the selfies out, get the selfie sticks out and all that kind of stuff. And just feels like that Carlton, they're just falling away. Bit like Sydney.
Look, I think, like I said, as close to a 50-50 game as I can even conjure. This could easily go either way. I'm really not sure what to expect. But I will say this, as far as, me asking you, how was the mood? Were you dispirited and disenchanted by the result against the Giants? Me personally, obviously heartbreaking to lose a close one, but I did have that one penciled in as a loss. And honestly, I have the Blues one penciled in as a loss as far as my mid-season review. But now that we're here, I honestly don't know. I think we could get it done, but good luck tipping this one. For all Hawthorn, Carlton fans and all of the neutrals, everyone who has to do their tips this week, good luck.
Can you imagine the implosion that will occur if we beat Carlton by a handy margin.
Mate, everyone in Lygon Street's already stopped by your Mitre 10. They've got the 2x4s, they've got the nails, they're boarding things up for their own safety. It is going to be bedlam if they suddenly miss finals.
If we beat them by enough, we can take their spot too. That would be delicious.
Here's the thing worth saying. If we beat Carlton, obviously finals are still not a guarantee. We still need a lot to go our way, but 1 week at a time, mate. That's the old saying.
Just even to make it into the top 8, mate, would be fantastic after that start. Even if we just get in there for a week.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, it's true. Because we haven't broken that barrier yet. It would be nice to. Even if we fall out again, it'd be nice to just prove a point, you know?
Who else is looking at tickets to get down to Tassie to see us make finals?
I've been so tempted by that. So tempted. The reason I've held back is my rationale that if we make it, I want to use that money on finals tickets.
I read that there's a 5% chance we'll go and play Sydney in Sydney.
All right then, well, that's the trip then, isn't it?
Can you imagine? God.
We better get to some social media stuff now. We'd love for you to go forth and plug our podcast to fellow Hawkers. Tell them about our work, listeners, and what we're all about. Help us get them on board. We'd love to have them. Beyond word of mouth, of course, would very much encourage you to leave us a rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening to this. That'd be wonderful and very much appreciated. Of course, we're always riding the bumps with a grin online. Hop onto our social channels and join the conversation with thousands of other diehard Hawkers. You can find us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And lastly, as always, we're taking this opportunity to celebrate our subscribers. They're our proud, passionate, and paid-up Patreon members, the people that put a bit of their hard-earned coin into this show, supporting what we do. And so we extend a massive thank you to everyone who's on board with us there. Just a bit of a heads up, it's subscribers who will get the majority of content this off-season. If you're wanting to get on board, now is a great time. Show your favourite Hawthorn podcast a bit of love. Head to our Patreon page, patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
Now, in light of the Patreon stuff, Brett asks, can you guys go back and do a reaction to the episode where you made pre-season predictions? Funny stuff in hindsight. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Brett.
I mean, he's spot on. And the irony of that is, of course we were always going to. So Brett has got out ahead of that magnificently. But we did do a bit of a check-in for our mid-season episode, exclusive to Patreon subscribers.
It was a bit cherry-picked, but it was pretty good.
Well, yeah, we didn't go through every team, but just think of first of all, how long ago that feels. I mean, that mid-season feels like months ago. And think now about how our reactions might stack up now. Because I reckon there are some little check-ins that we did mid-season going, oh boy, we really whiffed it on that one, or haha, see, I was correct. But I reckon, given a number of weeks, I reckon everything might have turned on its head.
The standout in that pre-season guide, of course, is my declaration that the Pies stick a fork in them, they're done. That's obviously the standout.
Well, it's a very good call by you, but the truth is, even they're not done. Did you know the AFL released this, that no finalists are locked in?
Really?
That is true, apparently. Yeah, as ahead of this round, no finalists currently locked in. Now, I don't know, I'll have to look into it, but I suspect that changes after round 22, surely.
Yeah, well, what do you think has to happen for Longmire to finally get the boot?
I mean, the team's still atop the ladder, aren't they? That has to afford some security, surely.
They got Collingwood, Essendon, and Adelaide.
They're going to be okay. Mind you, I think they dropped this Friday night. And I know how I am with Friday night tips. You don't need to say.
Yeah, get on Sydney. There we go. 40-point margin. Thank you very much, Nick. That'll pay for the flight.
I don't know. I just have a sneaky suspicion that the Swans might drop another one. They're not going to lose by over 100 points again, but I don't know. Should be a good game to kick off the round.
Pretty good odds for that kind of turnaround. 40 point after that kind of loss. Be good.
Yeah, well, mate, I love the game, not the odds.
Yeah. Okay. Will. Thank you, Will.
Isn't it Mitch Lewis who's...
It was Will Langford. They always had Will Langford setting up a shot at goal. And it was love the game, not the odds. That was what was on the MCG scoreboard all the time.
Bit of a blast from the past. Mate, I'm looking forward to being back at the MCG. I'm very hungry for this game.
I can't wait for it, to be honest. Get that GWS game behind me. And it's all about beating Carlton. It's been something that's been part of me for, I don't mind the club itself, but I love beating them.
We haven't beaten them in a little while. I think the last time we defeated Carlton was 2020. And you know where we did that?
Western Australia, and we came back after the debutante goal from Will Day with Isaac Smith jumping all around him. Yeah.
I think you've remembered that spot on. But yeah, it's been a hot minute. And we had, I think in 2022, it was an agonising 1-point loss to them. We stormed home, but it wasn't enough. And I don't know. Might be time, mate. It might be time.
Well, I'm going to be very loud this weekend.
How many rows will you clear, do you reckon?
Probably none. They're pretty stoked, the old boys.
Well, I look forward to all your tales of your misadventures. I'll be in M10. I'll be screaming my lungs out where that's actually permitted and encouraged. It's going to be fun to sing some songs. We, of course, will be back next week for the Hawk Talk podcast to recap all the action from what promises to be a massive blockbuster clash with Carlton. Win, lose or draw. You know we're going to recap the lot right here on the Hawk Talk podcast. We'll see you then. We are a happy team at Hawthorn.